Boom, boom. How's it going? How's it going? Yeah. At the top of the hour, we're coming in, and we are coming in straight live out of M5 Group. Yeah, it's good to having you around. Let's make sure that the sound and everything else has stopped because the sound is clear and you can all hear me. Good evening, Step Up Nation. Welcome, welcome. And this is where we talk about anything and everything around business, making sure that as a people we can progress into business and not just in business, but stepping up in everything that we do. My name is TJ, and if this is your first time being here, welcome, welcome. High five to you. And today I've got a cool topic. So every Tuesday, I am here, whether you are not here or whether you are here, but yours truly, Uncle TJ, will be here. And we'll be talking about specifically about business, how you can step up your game to the next level of your business. I don't know where you are, but my game is to make sure that at least we can move away from being 100% an E, being an employee, to move you into either a B, which is a business owner, or a system owner, so that that system can then be able to give you more income, and the system doesn't have to be dependent on you. Yep. Or hopefully I can get you to be an I, which is an investor. So there's nothing wrong with being an employee. All good. I'm still an employee at the moment, but I'm an employee at a time of choice, right? So I choose to be an employee. Like for instance, I write books. When I'm writing my book, I'm an employee, right? For instance, when I work in my business, I'm an employee. But I have a system. Within that system, it's giving me income. I choose to be within that system. Yeah, I am that guy who's got a couple of businesses. And the one business that maybe a lot of people know is when I started off in the real estate space. But today I want to speak to you not about real estate. I'm fond of real estate because it gives you a base in terms of foundation, especially if you're coming from a background where you don't have um, lots of money. Who does have lots of money? Well, some people you never know, right? But if you're coming from a background where potentially you are the first in the family to be just striking hard to become something of significant, property gives you that edge because what it does is property kind of like works twice for you. The first way is that obviously it's an appreciation, and secondly, obviously on the cash flow that it gets. But today I'm not talking about property specifically. I am talking about a business that I have done. So every Tuesday when I'm here, I talk about a specific business and I want to talk about businesses that I'm doing or that I've done, or a business that I have gone to extensively looked into, or potentially a business that one of my business partners is doing or one of my investors are doing. So I know that business intricates into it. And we talk about it. And if you want to ask questions, you can ask questions because this is live. By the way, this channel here is called Step Up Your Game. So wherever you are, there is room to step up. Yeah, there is room to step up. So the conversation that I want us to talk about today is chicken farming a good business? Is chicken farming a good business? In my book, From Bad Day to Property Mogul, so I wrote a book here, From Bad Day to Property Mogul. A lot of people think that, hey, it's a book about property, but it's not. It's a book about how I got out of debt. And some of that debt was actually caused from a point of some of the businesses that I had done and they failed. So I'm not one of those guys who just like, oops, I woke up and then, there was success around the corner. No, there wasn't. There's a couple of business that I did. And one of the business that I did was chicken farming. I'm fond of chicken. If I go out, my preference is always to have chicken. But I failed dismally at that business. Yep. But today I'm going to talk to you about it so that we can be educated. You and I could be educated. And by the way, as I go along, you can ask me some comments and I'll dive into that comment. My goal is to make sure that I can be able to help you to find your next hustle and you can step up your game. So if chicken farming is for you within this next 15 to 20 minutes, we'll explore it. What is it? How can you do it? Can you, how can you make money out of it? But above that, hopefully you do not become an employee in the business or in the chicken farming, but at least maybe you can create a system around it. And today, because I'm talking about something that I'm passionate about, so food security is one of those things that I'm passionate about. So chickens is food, right? And food security is one of those things I'm like, yeah, in my heart. But how do you actually do it? Or what is chicken farming? So for some of you, like, chicken farming? How do you do chicken farming? So I'm going to share with you what is chicken farming. So a lot of us, today we only see chickens when they are on the plate, right? And we don't know that these chickens, they were actually farmed somewhere. So there's farms out there where you can actually create, or whether you not create, but where you can breed chickens, right? They start off as a little egg, and from there they hatch. And from hatching, you can look after them. And there's around about two types of chickens that I want to speak to today, maybe three. The first chicken that I want to speak to is what they call the broilers, right? So broilers are very delicate. So you can actually, I'm shooting this video in winter. We're just about to go into winter, and winter is not a good time to be raising chickens actually, because your overheads are just like so high, because chickens are like human beings. They get cold. When they get cold, they all kind of like get together in one space, and when they do that, they're trying to create warmth, right? And obviously the weak ones, they die. How do I know that? It's because I raised chickens as a business at one point, so I know that. So can anyone start this business? It's a good business. I'm going to throw in some numbers in here, random numbers, to help you to understand how you can make some money out of it. But let me just break it down a little bit in terms of the chicken business itself. What would you need to start? What would you need to start? So we spoke about what is chicken farming, and I covered the one type of chicken. The other type of chicken that I would like to speak to is what they call the layers. So you can get to have layers. So broilers is predominantly you breed it for meat. So, that's what it's there for. And the layers is predominantly for laying eggs. So the way that you're going to rear the two is very different. And you can't mix them as well, right? They need to be separate. And then there's the other one, which we predominantly know as the road runners. The road runner is just like, it's a road runner. It just eats anything that's around it, and I'm actually fond of that chicken. I don't like the way it tastes though, but I'm fond of it because it's a chicken that you can just raise and it's just there around. And the meat is quite hard though. You need to cook it for a long time, and that's another video for another day that we're going to talk about how to make money out of chickens, cooking chickens, right? How to make money. Lots of people that I know that are making money out of cooking chickens, particularly some of my street vendors that I see all the time. They making money out of just buying chickens on a street corner. And we'll talk about that at a later time. But today's topic is about raising the chickens, chicken farming itself. Is there money or there's no money? Yeah. So now that we understand that there's kind of like three types of chickens, ideally you would want to pick one. Because if you pick one, then at least at your farm or at your place, whatever the place could be, you can then decide, and you can then be able also to isolate diseases. So chickens are very prone to diseases, flus and those kind of things, right? And because they are different breeds, right, they also come with different types of diseases. So you want to find one. If you're doing broilers, you're doing broilers. If you're doing layers, you're doing layers. So layers just basically means that you're doing it for eggs. But at some point, the chicken is going to stop laying eggs and it becomes meat, right? But the idea is not for you to be making money out of the layers on the chicken. You're making money on the eggs. So there's another different business. Can you see that, right? Okay, cool. Now, as we go along, now that you understand that there's different types of the chickens, so three types of chickens that they are there, there's plenty of them, but I've decided to just talk about the three. How do you grow them, or how do you rear them so that it becomes profitable? So I'm going to speak about the broilers tonight. And broilers, basically what you do is, obviously you need to have what is called the structure. So this is the structure where the chickens needs to come in and stay, and you need to be able to raise them. And just like I said, they're very much close to humans in terms of behavior. When they're very small, they are delicate, they're babies, they need to be nurtured nicely. And as they start growing, they change their food into grown-up food. And when they're now a little bit bigger, you change the food, right? So from that perspective, you need to have an adequate structure. Now, I'm going to put in a disclaimer here. The reason why I failed in chicken farming is because I started chicken farming without even going to a school to understand the pros and the do's and the don'ts of that. I bought a farm from someone else who was doing chickens, and I kind of like learned on the job. But my learning on the job was very much I was coming from my job in town, and I would go there on a Saturday and Sunday. Like I get there maybe 9 o'clock, and around about 3 o'clock, I'm done. So I was not seeing the full cycle of the chickens. And my plea to you is that if you're to go into this business, get educated in terms of how you can raise chickens, right? Because you can make good money, but you can also lose lots of money. I lost lots of money on this, right? So in everything that you're going to do, you will hear me throughout all of my videos. I want you to learn how to do it. Learn first before you jump into do it. So, how do you grow or how do you rear the broilers? Well, in most cases, you go and buy what they call day ones. So, these are small baby chickens that you go and buy wherever, and sometimes they deliver them to you. And you need to make sure that they are in an enclosed area where there's nice ventilation, but also a little bit of warmth, but it must not be too hot. If it's hot, well, the chickens will die. The chicks will die, right? If it's too cold, again, they'll die. And after you've done that, obviously now you now need to make sure that as they grow, you from day one, when they get to your place, the infrastructure obviously as they start growing, you now need to create more space because they are growing in size, right? And the cleaning process and then the medication process that needs to be going in there needs to be on point, or else they'll die. And if they die, you lose your money. You lose your shoes, you lose your money. You don't want to lose your money, isn't it? You're doing this for a business. Now, I'm still just explaining on the chickens here on how do you get to rear them. Now, as they get older, from around about 6 weeks to around 5 weeks to around about 6 weeks, maybe 6.5, you want to sell them. And when you're selling them, that's when you make a profit. So you buy them at a less price, you feed them the good feed. When they get to around about 5 to 6 weeks, you sell them. When you sell them, that's when you make your profit. So you can realize that the lifespan of a chicken is pretty small, which means that your returns in chickens is actually faster. So it's a good business in terms of turning your money. So let's assume that you spent 10,000 rand in getting these chickens from start to sell. When I used to do the chickens, I think at a chicken I would kind of like get away with a 10 rand. So if you had to multiply the numbers there, right? Let's say on 10,000 rand, you get to maybe, let's say 100 chicks. And for each 100 chicks, you're walking away with a 10 rand, right? So which means that, but you're not going to get all thousands, right? Not all of 1,000 will survive. You're going to have deaths in between. So some of them will die. And let's just take maybe 20% may die. So out of that, you subtract that, and that's the profit that you're going to make. So you can see it's a good sizable amount of profit that you can be able to make in chickens. So how can you start breeding? You can breed at the back of your house. If you've got a sizable house, you can breed on a proper farm, right? And you can do it as a business, right? I have done this and I made some good money out of it. But also, I grew too fast. At a point, I was doing 20,000 chickens every week, right? And I got hit with a disease. And when that disease came in, I was never able to get up. So at a farm where you kind of like have like 8 to 9 houses and you got 20,000 chickens in each, and if you're hit with a disease, potentially all of them will need to be bent down. And that's a humongous risk that obviously you don't want to dive into. So getting educated, you can see now getting educated is far important. How much is a chicken today if you go into the shops? So maybe 60 rand or something like that. But you're rest assured that when the chicken is at the farm, may potentially it's around about 55 rand. So if you had to burn all of those, imagine how much that is going to be. So you can make money. There is good money in chicken farming. I've done it. You can make money, but how do you make it a business? The good thing about chicken farming is that you don't have to be there all the time. If you go to school and understand how to do it and you put your structures together and you start off, let's say, raising your chickens at 1,000 at a time, or even 100, you start with 100, you increase your houses maybe to 200, you increase your houses maybe to 1,000, you increase your houses maybe to, you're doing cycles of 1,000 each. So you can have, let's say, multiple houses, let's say 8 houses. So every week you've got 1,000, you got 1,000, you got 1,000. So which means every week you are literally um, taking out about 1,000 chickens out to your market. You'll see that's good money. That's a good business, right? But the tricky part of raising chickens or being a chicken farmer is not about raising chickens. You can raise as many chickens as you want, but if you don't have a market for it, then who is going to buy your chickens? Because you're at a farm, you're out there. So if you don't have people that are going to be coming to buy your chickens, when you've got 1,000 chickens coming out every other week, what's going to happen? Now you are going to now incur other costs, for instance, of freezers. Now you now need to slaughter your chickens and all of those things. So now you're incurring other costs, and the more you're incurring costs, you're losing the money. So obviously you don't want to do that. Now I did put a disclaimer that you don't have to be there, but you need to get educated. But once you get educated, the first thing that you now need to do is to have your own workforce, people that will work with you on the farm, because you can't do it on your own. 1,000 chickens, you can't do. You probably need one or two people, right? If you get guys that are well trained, or you get guys that you can train, you can basically create some form of a schedule of what they need to do in the morning to feed the chickens and to tell you when the feed is done and when they're going to take the chickens to the market. And out of that, if you create a system, then you don't have to be there. You can just buy the chickens, the chicks, get them to the farm, the guys that need to do what they need to do, and you don't need to be there all the time. So that's creating a system. You can literally create that system. You might not need to leave your job, and you can do that if you do have the market. The fundamentals of this business is figuring out the market. If you got the market for it, you will make some good money, right? Would I do it today? I think I'll do it. Why? Because I love the chicken. Yeah. I think I'll do it. Why? Because there's good money in it. So imagine if you're making for every 1,000 chickens, you're making about an odd 10 rand, right? It's good money, right? Every other 6 weeks, again, that's good money, right? So if you are to stretch that into a year, you'll see that your return investments is quite high, potentially around about in the 40, 50, even 60%, right? So, but obviously there is work that you need to be doing there. Right. Where can you start this business? In your backyard, if you do have a yard. Um, or if you're like me, a little bit crazy, you went to buy a farm, then you get a farm, right? But there's many places where you can do it. You may need some licenses here and there, but if you're doing it in an area that is governed to be a farming area, then not. Who can do it? Anyone can do it. Anyone can do chicken farming. You can do chicken farming. I can do chicken farming. The bottom line of it is that you need to be trained around. It's like raising babies. If you're not so sure around it, you will lose your money. Right. If there is anyone else out there who is currently doing this business, I want to hear from you. I want to have some conversations with you. on how others can also start. Maybe you're already doing this as a business. Um, in the comments, let me know and we will reach out directly to you. But I'm hoping that this information has been informative to you for you to be able to create a business. Now, this business of chicken farming, obviously, you can't do it willy nilly. You need to have a business, and underneath it needs to be a property. So you could potentially be running two business on one business, the real estate business at the bottom and the chicken farming on the top. I like such kind of businesses because then it basically means that, my money is working harder for me, if not three times already. And if you do have any comments, let me know in the comments. And thanks a lot for all the loves that you're sending through. I appreciate it. And these conversations here cannot happen alone with me, but I'm excited that I can bring out conversations like these ones to you. And for some of you, maybe you have never. I write about my chicken farming business in this book, how I started and how I started doing it and things like that. And you can learn a couple of things from it. So in the comments, you should be able to see where you can be able to order my book. It is a Tuesday evening, like I said, every Tuesday, 8 o'clock. Whether you are here or you're not, I am here to make sure that we can have conversations about stepping up and stepping up your game from wherever you are. Maybe you could be an employee and you're trying to figure out an idea. What can you do? And today I've just given you one cool idea of raising chickens, but I promise you, do not go and start raising chickens before you get the market. Have the market first, know who you're going to sell to, then you start. When you do that, you're going to make some money. Welcome. And it is I, your boy TJ, and it has been great hanging out with you on Step Up. I'll check you out on the next video, and thanks for watching. Cheers.